Well, if we need to talk about credentials, tonight's guest artist has been establishing his for more than 30 years. Just to give you a few highlights, Verlon Thompson has written hit songs recorded by Jimmy Buffett, Alan Jackson, Dierks Bentley, Anne Murray, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Kenny Rogers, Randy Travis, Del McCoury, Sam Bush, Trisha Yearwood, Pam Tillis, Susie Boggess, Barbara Mandrell, Tracy Bird, Guy Clark, Jerry Jeff Walker, and Rambling Jack Elliott, just to name a few. He was initially hired as a songwriter in Nashville by a little lady by the name of Loretta Lynn. Yes, that Loretta Lynn. And many of his songs have spent time in the upper echelons of the Billboard Top 10 chart. He has Grammy and IBMA Song of the Year Award nominations, and several of his songs have earned BMI Million Airplay Awards. Not bad for a fellow who, to the general public, is best known for his guitar picking in 20-plus years he spent as Guy Clark's sidekick. But he's a songwriter. Verlon has been to Kerrville, Texas, many times, including an appearance a little over a year ago at Music at the Mansion. These days, he's been the subject of a video documentary that tells the story of his musical life, and he recently has added hosting a PBS television series to his resume, a program not too unlike this one, but he's really good. Anyway, I could sing his praises all night long, but I'd rather get on with letting him do his magical show and tell, all about the art and craft of songwriting. Please welcome back to Kerrville and to Schreiner University, Verlon Thompson. So Verlon, kick us off with a song. Your pick.
Well, I'll start you off kind of like, I start off most nights like this, because most of my shows are not really shows, they're conversations. Okay, it's a one-sided conversation, but what I try to do is just explain to you guys how I got here, where I started, and how it all came to be, and it takes all night to tell it. But I start off like this, and I'll try to keep it, I'll try to do the short version because it can get long. The first thing I do is I usually walk out into the audience, and they panic. And I tell them, don't panic, I'm just checking you out to see what I've got to work with tonight, you know. And I tell them it's okay if they don't know anything about me. It doesn't matter because by the end of the night, they're going to know all about me. And then I kick into this song. Well, I went to Nashville 40 years ago from Oklahoma. I walked away from rock and roll to get my honky-tonk diploma. I was hungry, young and hungry, and I was looking for an offer. And Miss Loretta Lynn, she took me in, that sweet coal miner's daughter. Bless her heart. But she never did do one of my songs. But one day she set me down and she said, darling, you should hang around with guys like Holyfield and Harlan. Now let me stop here and explain who I'm talking about when I say Holyfield and Harlan. I'm talking about two great songwriters that came to Nashville about 10 years before I came there. The first being Waylon Holyfield. Waylon Holyfield wrote a bunch of big hits. The one you might remember the most is Could I Have This Dance for the rest of my life. That's Waylon Holyfield. And when I say Harlan, I'm talking about another great songwriter that came down from Detroit City, a guy named Harlan Howard. Harlan wrote songs like, well, Harlan wrote everything that Waylon Holyfield didn't write. So between the two of these guys, for about 10 years, they just dominated the charts. And that's why Loretta Lynn set me down in a chair and said, now, darling, you should hang around with guys like Holyfield and Harlan. She said they go to lunch and they smoke cigars and they don't drink a glass of brandy. She said they write big hits and they leave big tips and spend their evenings with their families, which sounded perfect to me. Oh, but I'm glad she didn't tell me just how far I had to go. In this show we call the business, in this business we call show. So I played the Hickory Holler Mall, and I played at Union Station. And I learned to do a pretty good Johnny Cash impersonation. And then one night he walked out of the back. It was him and Miss June Carter. I ain't lying to you. I was playing in a little joint. They stuck me at the end of the bar, and I was playing for tips. And when you're playing for tips, you do whatever it takes to make an extra $1 or two. So I had just finished doing something like this. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my pants up with a piece of twine. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, you pull the twine. Anyway, you know, I made a couple of extra dollars and I was feeling pretty good about myself. And then the door opened back in the corner of the little place. And out of this private room, there stepped the man himself. This could only happen in Nashville, Tennessee. But there he was, Johnny Cash. And right behind him was June Carter. And he walked right through the crowd and he came up to me and right in front of the microphone and he said, son, he said, I've heard better, but I ain't heard nobody try no harder. Then one night he walked out of the back. It was him and Miss June Carter. And he said, son, I have heard better. Yeah, but not one who tries harder. So I put that in my bio. I told everyone I know. I said, man, I'm in this show we call the business. It's a business we call show. Well, it was Waylon Holyfield that introduced me to a Mr. Jimmy Gilmer of the Fireballs. And together they convinced me that I should try it all. Yeah, but later it would come to pass I could not play that part. 'Cause I just could not kiss nobody's to get my records on the chart. I just couldn't do it. Oh, but my mama, she's still waiting. She listens by the radio. I say, mama, it's just a show we call the business. It's just a business we call show. So here's to all my music brothers out there and my music sisters too. Here at home and on the road, this one goes out to you. When the print gets fine on the bottom line, don't y'all give away your soul. To this show we call the business, to this business we call show. It's just a show we call the business, y'all. It's just a business we call show.